Welcome to this explainer. You know, if you've spent literally any time looking for financial advice recently, you already know exactly how overwhelming the whole thing can be. Every single day, you're hit with this endless stream of noise. One guy is screaming, invest in small cap. Someone else is saying, no, flexi cap is the absolute best. And the next person is flashing some wild thumbnail promising 30% returns. It's kind of crazy, and it leaves pretty much everyone just incredibly confused. So, let's just dive right into it. Millions of investors search for the best mutual fund every single day. They spend hours, right, just comparing ratings, chasing past performance, and hunting for that one magical fund they saw hyped up on social media. Everyone wants that perfect mutual fund. But here's the uncomfortable truth about that. Asking for the best fund is actually the completely wrong question. Think about it. Imagine walking into a hospital, and instead of asking the doctor to figure out what's wrong with you, you just demand, hey, give me the best medicine. That sounds absolutely ridiculous, right? A doctor has to diagnose you first. Well, the exact same thing happens in investing. You really shouldn't be asking for the best fund without knowing your own goals, your age, your income, and your personal risk tolerance. Investing is deeply, deeply personal. And that's exactly why we're going to build your portfolios step by step in this explainer. We'll start with that all-important diagnosis, then define the foundational market cap sizes, compare the nuances of flexi versus multi-cap funds, look out for the hidden trap of portfolio overlap, explore different investing styles, and finally, set some realistic return expectations.
So, let's kick things off with the diagnosis and finding that right question.
Moving right along to the foundation, the market cap sizes. Now, just as a quick refresher, a mutual fund is essentially just a basket of pooled money managed by professionals. But to build that basket properly, we have to rely on standard rules set by SEBI, India's market regulator. They've given us three main categories. First up, large caps. These are the top 100 biggest listed companies in India. Think massive, established giants like Reliance, TCS, and HDFC Bank. Then we have mid-caps, ranked 101 to 250. These are way bigger than startups, but they still have a ton of room to grow. And finally, small caps, which is basically everything ranked 251 and beyond. We're talking thousands of businesses here. Huge growth potential, for sure, but also a massive amount of uncertainty. And this kind of forces us to rethink a really core concept, risk. What does risk actually mean here? When most of us hear that word, we instantly think, oh no, I'm going to lose all my money. But in the investing world, risk has a very different vibe. It's actually more about behavioral volatility. Basically, what are the chances your investment simply won't behave the way you expect it to? Let's look at it this way. Large cap companies are a lot like giant cargo ships. They literally can't change direction quickly. But during massive economic storms or crashes, they stay relatively steady and grounded. Small cap companies, well, they're basically racing motorcycles. They can go incredibly fast during the good times, the bull markets, but man, they are super easy to knock off balance when things get rough. There's this huge myth out there that higher risk automatically guarantees higher returns. It doesn't. Actually, scratch that. It never guarantees returns. All it actually guarantees is a much wider, way more stressful range of possible outcomes. Okay, let's get into the nuance of it all. Flexi cap versus multi-cap. If you've spent any time browsing mutual funds, you've definitely bumped into the terms flexi-cap and multi-cap. So I gotta ask you directly, are they the same thing? Because honestly, most people just assume they're identical baskets doing the exact same job. But the truth is, they are fundamentally different. A flexi-cap fund gives the fund manager pretty much maximum freedom. They can shift your money anywhere, large, mid, or small cap, based purely on where they spot the best opportunity. It's sort of like a driver who can just change lanes whenever they feel like it. A multi-cap fund, on the other hand, operates under some very strict SEBI rules. The manager is literally forced to stay within designated lanes. By rule, a multi-cap fund absolutely must have at least 25% parked in large cap, another 25% in mid-cap, and another 25% in small cap. Only that remaining 25% is actually flexible. So neither fund type is inherently better than the other. They just follow completely different sets of rules for how they diversify your money. Which brings us perfectly to our next point, the hidden trap of portfolio overlap. Picture this. You go out and buy two different mutual funds. You're feeling great, right? You're diversified. But then you actually peek inside those baskets and realize both of them heavily hold the exact same companies, like HTFC and Infosys. Suddenly it hits you. You are literally paying two different fund managers to buy the exact same stocks. This is what we call portfolio overlap. As a broad general guideline, a lot of professional investors try to keep the overlap between their equity funds to a maximum of around 15 to 20%, because anything higher than that usually just means you're creating duplication in your portfolio, not true diversification. So here are the golden rules to live by. Always look inside the portfolio. Don't just count the number of funds you hold, count the actual businesses you own. Because at the end of the day, you don't own 5 mutual funds. You own the underlying companies inside those funds. High overlap just completely waters down your true diversification. Let's shift gears and talk strategy, investing styles. Have you ever thought about how two investors with the exact same amount of money, playing in the exact same market, can get completely different results? Well, imagine 3 investors walking into a massive shopping mall. One heads straight to a premium high-end showroom. Another makes a beeline for the clearance rack. And the third, they just run into the busiest store where the biggest crowd already is. It's the exact same mall, but completely different decisions are being made. So how does this translate to investing styles? Well, growth investors are out there buying expanding businesses, fully believing that tomorrow's earnings will justify a super high price today. Value investors, they're the ones hunting those clearance racks, looking for premium companies that the market has temporarily priced incredibly cheaply. And momentum investors just look for the marathon leader. They follow the strength of what is already winning. But because markets always move in cycles, no single style stays on top forever. And that, right there, is exactly why different fund managers get such wildly different results. Finally, let's wrap up with a reality check: setting return expectations. If you only look at a one-year timeline, you're going to see all the hype and those completely ridiculous 30% return thumbnails. But if you stretch that out to 5 years, you'll inevitably experience a full market cycle, complete with the crashes. And when we zoom out to a 10 to 15-year horizon, which, by the way, is exactly how you should be planning for retirement or major life goals, a really realistic, nominal, annualized return is around 10 to 12%. Trust me, making conservative assumptions makes your financial plan so much more resilient to shocks. And we can't forget about the silent enemy in the room: inflation. Earning a 10% return means practically nothing if inflation is quietly eating away 6% of it every single year. Investing isn't just about watching a number get bigger on a screen. It's absolutely crucial for protecting and growing your future purchasing power over decades. That's how you actually afford the life you want. So I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Take a hard look at your own investments right now. If you had to describe your portfolio in one sentence, what would you say? Is it aggressive, balanced, or, maybe it's non-existent right now? Whatever your answer is, you now have the tools and the structured understanding to build a real, resilient portfolio. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this helps you out on your journey to building true, lasting wealth.